Final Fantasy Xlll-2, Fragments Before, Someday and Somewhere. He had never known how big the world was. He once thought he knew. He thought he grasped not just its size, but its appearance. What it was made of beyond the village where they lived. The land stretched vast and endless, with mountains that rose high enough to pierce the heavens, and beyond them, the ocean, the sea waters, were always rough, and any boat would immediately sink. But learning it from stories like mine isn't nothing like seeing it for yourself, his grandmother had once said. The first he'd heard of the world had been from his grandmother's lap. To his young ears, it had sounded just like a fairy tale about frightening monsters. Your granny has seen mountains that touch the heavens too, but I've never seen the ocean. I actually don't know what color it is, or what sound the waves make, or what the ocean wind smells like. With a faraway look in her eyes, his grandmother had said, "This is just what I heard from my father, and he heard it from his father. But we can see the ocean from the high ground in the village." No, that's not... I screwed up on that part, excuse me. But we can see the ocean from the high ground in the village. No, that's not the ocean. It's so big everyone calls it the ocean. But that's a lake. If the ocean were that close, we'd never be able to live here. I've heard there were villages by the ocean long ago, though in the past the people had caught fish in the sea, harvested clams, and picked seaweed to live. Living by the waters had been like living beside a great storehouse of food. But ever since the sea water had become poison, the people had abandoned their seaside villages. Since then, the ocean had become an unapproachable region for people, and the spray of the water of the waves would turn into fine poison, mist that would ride on the winds to destroy all living things, his grandmother said. His grandmother said, "The ocean is scary." It is, but I wanted to see it just once, even though the wind from it could kill you. His eyes widened in surprise. His grandmother smiled. Smiling, his grandmother replied, It's not as if you die right away. Only if you live beside the ocean and breathe the wind day by day. And day after day will you become sick. Besides, curiosity eventually wins out over fear. Someone always has to take a peek. Everyone always says to stay away from stuff that can hurt you. Now, of course, little boys like you should stay out of danger, but Granny's an adult, older than anyone in the village. Sometimes I find myself thinking, I'd like to see this or I'd like to see that before I die. Before I die sounded so ominous. He wanted to cry. Just 3 days earlier, there had been a funeral for someone much younger than his grandmother. Just those days ago, a young mother died in childbirth. The baby hadn't been saved either. Ironically, the birth of a child often meant the death of the mother, even if she made it through the labor. After the birth, she would be weak and susceptible to illness, and many of them would not live to see their own children grow. Every time one person was born, another always seemed to die, and there was no guarantee the children would grow up afterward either. Survival to adulthood was far from certain, and a parent had to be very lucky to see her own child grow up. Having 2 or more children was a blessing, granted only to the extremely fortunate. And to have survived his grandmother's age could be called a miracle. I don't want you to die. The moment that was out of his mouth, he felt so sad that tears spilled from his eyes. His mother had died soon after giving birth to him.